You know, guys, there are some things in my life that I know I'm pretty good at, and there are some things in my life that I know need improvement. And one of those things is time management. Okay, I've had this great guitar build-off kit and hardware package probably since the middle of August, and here we are, Thanksgiving weekend, and I haven't even opened the box yet. So that leaves me with about 2 weeks to throw this thing together, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I guess the first thing I need to do is just open this thing up and see what I'm dealing with. I'm Dan, you're watching Guns and Guitars, and this is my 2022 Great Guitar Build-Off entry. Let's get started. Now, I think I have a pretty good idea what to expect because I saw all the other people unboxing their stuff. Oh, wow. Look at the colors on that thing. Oh, that is awesome. I was actually thinking about replacing the fretboard, but I don't think I'm going to. That looks wonderful. We're gonna keep that. We're gonna make that work. See, this is why it's important to actually look at your kit before you come up with your plan. Now this, on the other hand, is a little less than exciting. All I got was, I mean, it's great. It's kind of like quarter sawn, so it's going to be really strong, but I got all the end grain. So, gotta say, that portion, I'm a little less excited about. Let's see how good the neck fit is in that pocket. It's a bit loose. All right, well, the body needs work. Don't you just love that neck, though? Great figuring on the back, too. Great, wonderful. All right, so I'm gonna give this a good look over and start brainstorming some ideas over Thanksgiving. And first thing Monday morning, we're gonna start carving this thing up. So here we are Monday morning. I've thought about what I can do with this, and I got some opinions from some of the guys in my Guns and Guitars secret Facebook group, and the vote was pretty much unanimous. This block of wood just simply won't do as is. The nice wood grain is here on the side of it, and what I got here on top, I just can't really use. What we're gonna do is we're gonna top it. We're actually gonna sandwich it, top and back it. I ran over to my local wood supplier this morning. He does local sustainably harvested live edge slabs, and we found some pieces that we can resaw and book match. So here, we've got some black walnut, which should contrast. Ooh, the knot just fell out. That's cool. So that's cool. I'm very excited about it. I have 3 pieces of this, so I'm gonna glue them all up and see which ones turn out the best. And then I'm gonna have to plane this down. And of course, I don't have a planer, so I could use the CNC to flatten it down, but I think I don't really have time for that. CNC takes a while. So I think I'll probably just do it the old-fashioned way with the router sled. So I don't know if you guys have been following any of the other builds in this Great Guitar Build-Off 2022, and I don't just mean the invitationals. I mean, you know, the professional category, the scratch build category, even the community builds. It's obvious there is a ton of talented guitar makers here on YouTube. And honestly, in this competition, I don't stand a chance. I'm just happy that they asked me to be a part of it because honestly, my number one goal is just to raise some money for charity here. So instead of talking you through this build and just kind of showing you all the things that you've seen me do 100 times already on this channel, I'm instead going to take this opportunity while you watch me build this guitar to talk about the charity that I am raising money for this year. So I'm going to be talking about some stuff that might be really uncomfortable. And the reason why it feels so uncomfortable is because literally nobody is talking about this. And I think the number one way to put an end to it is simply awareness, just waking people up to what's going on around them. The unfortunate reality is that slavery is very much alive and well today. In fact, it's estimated that there's over 40 million people currently enslaved today. That means there's actually more people enslaved today than there has been in any other time in human history. More than during the African slave trade in the 1700s and 1800s, more than when Israel was enslaved by Egypt thousands of years ago. I mean, it's absolutely insane. This is going on right under our noses, and nobody's talking about it. Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry annually. That's absolutely insane. And the vast majority of it is not labor force. The vast majority is sex trafficking, with, again, the vast majority being women and children, with the average age being between 12 and 14 years old. It's absolutely disgusting. These people have been abducted or sold into or tricked into doing heinous sex acts against their will, all for the profit of the people who own them. And I'm not just talking about brothels in third world countries here. I'm talking about major cities across the US that are supporting this industry. The sad reality is that slavery happens in every country, and nobody's talking about it, which is the number one reason why I think awareness is the biggest issue here. In 2018, there was a campaign that lasted for about 5 seconds where everyone got really on board to ending human trafficking, and it came and went and was gone. Now, it was during that campaign that my wife and I stepped up and said, we need to do something about this. So we started supporting A21, which is an organization dedicated to ending human trafficking. A21 realizes that human trafficking is a vicious cycle. It starts with people being vulnerable, okay? Minorities that are marginalized or living in poverty are the number one target for abduction or being sold into the slave trade. So then these people are exploited, and then even if they're able to escape or pay off their debts or whatever, they're able to get out of the human trafficking business, they're oftentimes re-victimized because they fall back into that same category of marginalized minorities living in poverty. And so the cycle just continues. So A21 has a 3-prong approach for breaking the cycle in any one of its 3 phases. The first is just to reach out to the people who are most susceptible to becoming trafficked. And so they have lots of awareness programs. They go into these communities around the world to try to help people see the signs of sex trafficking and human trafficking happening in their area so that they don't fall victim to it. And the second phase is to actually dive in and save the people who are currently being exploited. They work with governments and law enforcement agencies around the world to find these people and save them, and also provide them with legal help and prosecuting these human trafficking ringleaders. So, for example, just this last year, A21 has rescued over 600 people from the human trafficking industry. And that's one thing that I love when I was supporting them, was getting those emails every month telling stories of these people, these women and children that have been rescued out of the slave trade, and also the court cases that they are winning against these ringleaders. They put dozens of these major ringleader players in the human trafficking industry behind bars so that they can't harm anyone else ever again. And the last phase is restoration, because like I said, human trafficking can be a vicious cycle. And so to prevent the people that they've rescued out from falling victim to it again, they help restore them with holistic aftercare and programs that help rehabilitate them back into society where they're not going to fall victim to human trafficking again. And so that's their model: reach, rescue, restore. So if you want to help support A21 in their fight against human trafficking, there's a few ways you can do so. Firstly, the Great Guitar Build-Off is a great way to raise awareness and support for a lot of these charities. And so if you purchase a raffle ticket for the guitar that I'm building here, I think 45% of those proceeds will go to A21 to help end human trafficking. And in fact, that's the reason why I've named my guitar the A21 Freedom Fighter, which kind of sounds like a cool World War II bomber. I think B-21 Liberator probably would have been even cooler, except for it's already been taken. But yeah, the A21 Freedom Fighter, so 45% of all the raffle ticket proceeds will go to that. Some of those proceeds will also go to administrative fees for the Great Guitar Build-Off, and the remainder will go to the Great Guitar Build-Off charity, which helps underprivileged people who want to get into guitar building help get the resources to do so. But if you want 100% of your donation to go to A21, there's a link down in the description where you can sign up to give. And if you've heard these statistics and it's awoken something in you where you just feel like this is just atrocious and something needs to be done, I highly recommend signing up to be a monthly supporter. Now, I'm not affiliated with A21. I don't get any sort of kickback if you guys sign up to be a monthly supporter. In fact, I'm not even sure that they know that I'm doing this for them. It's just a organization that I truly believe in and want to support. Now, if you're not in a place where you can financially support A21 or purchase raffle tickets for this guitar or whatever, there's still a couple of very practical tangible ways that you can help end human trafficking. And like I already said earlier in this video, the number one thing you can do is help spread awareness. Just help people understand that this is happening. And then number two is you can stop supporting the industry yourself. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, you may have been supporting the human trafficking industry without even realizing it. Here's where things are going to get uncomfortable. And I warned you about this in the beginning because nobody is talking about this. And the number one way we can fight it is awareness, right? If you've ever looked at pornography, you have likely supported the human trafficking industry. Now, I'm not going to say this from a high horse at all. In fact, I am going to be completely vulnerable and honest with you guys right here and tell you that for the last 10 or 15 years, I have struggled myself with a pornography addiction. And it's only been in the last couple of years where I've really made some strides in overcoming it. And one of the things that really helped was knowing that by watching pornography, I was exploiting women against their will for the profit of the people who own them. So let me explain to you a little bit about how this works. Okay, human trafficking and sex trafficking is deeply rooted in prostitution. And there are unfortunately websites now like Pornhub, which has unaffectionately become known as Trafficking Hub in the human trafficking world. And these websites like Pornhub incentivize monetarily people to make pornography. Kind of similar to YouTube. YouTube has an ad revenue sharing program for their content creators so that creators like myself can get paid for uploading content like this. It's the same thing for Pornhub. And so they have made it extremely easy for people to monetize homemade pornography. Well, finding people who are willing to do the heinous sex acts required to make hardcore pornography, for example, is extremely difficult. And so the easiest way to do it is to hire a prostitute. Film it in a hotel room or your apartment, upload it to Pornhub, and get paid. As long as people are watching it, the creators are getting paid and they are going to continue to exploit women in the human trafficking industry. So, like I said, it's really uncomfortable to talk about, and we got to stop making it uncomfortable to talk about. And so whether you think that looking at pornography is right or wrong, you guys know that I am a Bible-believing Christian. And so I knew that it was wrong every time that I was looking at it. And I thought that getting married would fix it. I thought that having kids would fix it, and nothing did. An addiction's an addiction. It still to this day calls my name, but I can honestly say through a very understanding wife and very supportive family and the transformative power and love of Jesus Christ, I have not looked at porn in well over 3 years. Now, if you didn't know, I've been doing YouTube for 5 years. So that means that those of you who have been following me since the beginning, you were following me when I was a slave to my addiction. And so I don't say that to brag and say I'm winning against this fight. I say that because I just want you to know I understand. It's hard. And we need to stop. If we want to have any chance of overthrowing this horrible human trafficking, sex trafficking industry, we have to start at ground level. And so that's what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm encouraging you to have these uncomfortable conversations, to bring the darkness to light, because that's the only way that we're truly going to make a difference. Now, on a much lighter note, why don't we go ahead and hear how this guitar sounds? So just a quick summary of what we got going on in this guitar. Obviously, we got a nice Alnico P90 neck pickup, a nice Alnico 5 bridge humbucker pickup. We've got the Duesenberg Le Trem 2 on there. We also have a hidden piezo Tune-o-matic style bridge, and we got a 3-way pickup selector switch, a master volume, and a master tone. Well, under the hood, we've got a couple modifications as well. If you pull on the volume pot, it splits the humbucker. So if you want a more single coil sound between your neck and bridge, you have that option. And then I actually have this wired with a stereo output jack. It's what on my channel I call the Dano sound feature, and it's so that you can stereo split your pickups, or in this case piezo, to a separate output for recording individually or going to a separate amp or rig or something. So when the tone pot is pushed down in its default state, we have the magnetic pickups going to the tip of your TRS jack and the piezo pickup going to the ring of the TRS jack, which is honestly probably the way that you want to do this if you want to run your magnetic pickups and piezo at the same time. You really want your piezo going through a different setup, a different preamp, an acoustic amplifier, something that's going to make that piezo sound very acoustically as opposed to like a magnetic pickup. But if you're playing a gig where you want to be able to use your piezo through the same rig as your magnetic pickups, if you pull on that tone pot, it flips the bridge pickup and the piezo so that your piezo goes through the tip output in the bridge position. So you can click over to the bridge and you have your piezo output, or you can do your neck and piezo together. But that's very helpful for recording if you want to record your neck and your bridge pickup to separate outputs simultaneously. Like for example, if you don't know if you want a specific part recorded with your neck or bridge pickup, you could send them to 2 different amplifiers or 2 different inputs on your recording interface, and you can decide in post-production which pickup you want to use, or a mixture of the 2 together. Real quick, lighthearted commercial break to talk about my Patreon. If you guys support me at a $5 tier or higher, you get a opportunity to win cool stuff on my channel every month. Well, silly me, I forgot to give stuff away in October and November, and now we're in December and it's time for giveaway. So to make up for it, I'm doing a big giveaway. I'm not gonna give away just 1, not 2, but 3 CNC laser engraver cutters. I'm gonna give away my original Orcha laser with the extension kit installed for a much larger cutting and engraving area, the more powerful Comgrow laser, and the Creality CR Falcon that I recently reviewed on my channel. You guys have been wondering why I've been doing so many CNC videos. It's because these tools are extremely helpful, and I was stockpiling them so that I could give them away to you guys. So if you like the content that I create and you want to support me creating new content and getting more cool stuff like CNCs to give away, then check out the link down in the description to support me on Patreon. Like I said, if you support me at a $5 tier or higher, you will have an opportunity to win these CNC machines as well as other stuff every month on my Patreon page. So you can head over to my Patreon page where I'll have details of how you can enter to win one of those. And so as I mentioned before, my goal with building the A21 Freedom Fighter wasn't to win the Great Guitar Build-Off competition. I just wanted to raise money and awareness to end human trafficking. So I didn't set out to build the most eye-catching guitar. I set out to build the most giggable and useful guitar, honestly. Just a guitar that I personally would love to own in my collection. Something that isn't so awkward looking or attention grabbing that I'd be afraid to gig it. Something that's extremely versatile that can be used in the studio or at a live gig. And so that's what I feel like I've accomplished here. I mean, I would love to keep this guitar. And in fact, I'm gonna save my templates so that I can build one for myself a little bit later on. I think it's absolutely awesome. So again, if you want to support A21 and fight against human trafficking, feel free to buy some raffle tickets or check out the link down in the description where you can support them directly. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I'll see you in the next video.